Get ready to watch an epic video, a story full of mysteries, passions, and extraordinary feats. The true story of Samson, the strongest man in history, will take you through a whirlwind of emotions and revelations of a controversial hero whose strength defied human limits. But make no mistake, dear friend, because this story goes far beyond muscles and superhuman feats. It is a tale of betrayals, overwhelming passions, and sacrifices that echo through the centuries. In this video, we will reveal secrets and details never before told about Samson. The true face of this biblical icon will be unveiled before your eyes. If you've always wondered about the behind-the-scenes story behind Samson's overwhelming strength, this is the time. The real story, full of twists, begins now. Welcome to the true story of Samson, the strongest man in history. The true story of Samson begins in a time of Israel's disobedience and deviations from the Lord's paths, with an unlikely couple, Manoah and his barren wife, whose lives would take a divine turn. They belonged to the tribe of Dan clan, a lineage chosen to play a fundamental role in the history of Israel. Manoah, a man of prayer, received a heavenly visit from an angel of the Lord. Imagine the setting: a peaceful countryside, the gentle breeze caressing the landscape. The angel reveals to Manoah's barren wife that she will conceive and give birth to a son. But this would not be an ordinary son. He would be a Nazirite, consecrated to God from the womb. The angel, with an imposing presence, instructs the expectant mother to follow a code of holiness during her pregnancy. No fermented drinks, no unclean food. This boy would be dedicated to a special mission, to initiate the liberation of Israel from the hands of the Philistines. Filled with surprise and reverence, Manoah prayed to the Lord, asking for more guidance on how to raise this special son. God, hearing the sincere prayer, sent the angel again to instruct the couple about the fate of the boy who was about to be born. In a celestial dialogue, Manoah, seeking to know more, asks the angel about his name. But the angel responds with an aura of mystery, making it clear that his name is beyond human understanding. An enigma, like the story that was unfolding itself. Manoah, moved by gratitude, offers a holocaust to the Lord, still without fully understanding the magnitude of the divine presence in his life. The angel, in a peculiar gesture, climbs into the flame of the altar before the eyes of Manoah and his wife, revealing his extraordinary nature. Prostrate before the divine, Manoah and his wife realized the grandeur of the moment. Sometime later, Samson, the chosen one, was born, and with him, the beginning of a story that would echo through the centuries. A prophecy fulfilled, and the stage was set for the events that would shape Samson's story. Get ready. The true story of Samson, the strongest man in history, is just beginning to unfold. With Samson now growing up, becoming young, he begins to walk the paths of his heart, guided by intense passion, taking him to Timnah, where he encounters a Philistine woman. Her beauty enchants Samson, triggering a series of events that will shape his destiny. Among vineyards and fields, Samson meets a Philistine woman in Timnah, a choice that, for many, would be controversial, considering the tensions between the Israelites and Philistines at the time. But Samson, guided by his heart's desires, decides to follow his impulse. Upon returning home, Samson shares the news with his parents, revealing his intention to marry the Philistine woman who captured his heart. A choice that generates perplexity, as his parents question the possibility of finding a wife among Samson's own people. The conflict of loyalties intensifies when his parents express concerns about Samson seeking a wife from the Philistines, Israel's enemies at the time. Samson's determined response reveals the depth of his passion. Even though his parents don't agree with his decision, Samson's wedding party is marked by a festive atmosphere, but he decides to make the event even more intriguing. He poses a riddle to the Philistines, challenging them to decipher its mystery during the 7 days of the celebration. A bet that would reveal a lot about Samson's cunning and perspicacity. What was his riddle? From what he eats comes food, from what is strong came sweetness. Judges 14:14. For 3 days, the Philistines try to solve the riddle proposed by Samson, but the answer escapes them. Mystery hangs over the party, increasing tension and intrigue. The Philistines, confused and determined, desperately search for the solution. On the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, "Convince your husband to explain the riddle, otherwise we will burn you and your family alive. Did you invite us to the party just to make us poor? Judges 14 and 15. Samson's wife, pressured by the Philistines, begs her husband to reveal the riddle. In a moment of weakness or perhaps strategy, Samson shares the answer with her, triggering events that would drastically change the course of their story. Before sunset on the seventh day, the men of the city came to give Samson the answer. "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than the lion?" Samson replied, "If you hadn't plowed with my heifer, you wouldn't have solved my riddle." Judges 14 and 18. Samson, furious with his wife's attitude, decided to return to his parents' house. Samson's bride was given as wife to the boy who had accompanied him to the ceremony. Judges 14 and 20. And so, between riddles and revelations, Samson's wedding party, full of mystery, marks the beginning of challenges and intrigues that shape the destiny of the strongest man in history. Sometime later, the hero's destiny becomes intertwined with the cunning of Delilah, a woman whose dark intentions would trigger irreversible events. Sometime later, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in the valley of Sorek. Judges 16 and 4. Samson's fearless heart leads him to Delilah, a woman from the valley of Sorek. An intense passion develops between them, but this love story will take a dangerous and treacherous turn. The Philistine leaders, aware of Samson's extraordinary power, see in Delilah an opportunity to weaken the hero. They conspire to bribe her into discovering the secret of her supernatural strength. Delilah, possessed by a treacherous desire, uses all her seduction to extract Samson's secret. Each encounter between them becomes a dangerous game of emotions, where apparent love intertwines with imminent betrayal. Day after day, Delilah pressures Samson to reveal the source of his strength. She cries, begs, using every trick to persuade the hero to trust her. Samson, enveloped by desire and misplaced trust, begins to give in to Delilah's apparent charms. In a moment of weakness and trust, Samson finally gives in to Delilah's incessant pleas. He reveals the secret of his strength, his 7 braids of hair untouched since birth. "My hair was never cut, as I was consecrated to God as a Nazirite from birth. If my head were shaved, I would lose my strength and become as weak as any other man." Judges 16 and 17. Delilah, now armed with the vital secret, betrayed Samson. The mighty hero, who defied lions and armies, becomes vulnerable in the hands of those who seek his destruction. The consequences of this betrayal pave the way for a dark chapter in Samson's life. Delilah's betrayal, a crucial turning point in Samson's story. What awaits our hero, now weakened by broken trust and revealed secret? The strongest man in history faces his own abyss, and the story becomes even darker. Betrayed by Delilah, Samson is captured by the Philistines. In an act of bitter revenge, they arrest him, poke out his eyes, and force him to work as a captive, turning a mill in prison. The man who once defied armies is now humiliated and blind. The Philistines, exultant in their victory over the mighty Samson, celebrate with feasts and sacrifices to their gods. But the fallen hero, despite his weakened condition, is about to unleash an act of revenge that will echo through the centuries. In his prison, Samson, now deprived of his sight, cries out to the Lord in a desperate plea for renewed strength. His connection with the divine remains, and hope for redemption begins to shine even in the darkness of his cell. The Philistines, forgetting their weakened condition, decide to bring Samson to entertain them at a great event. What they don't realize is that, despite physical blindness, the flame of determination burns within the fallen hero. In a climactic moment, Samson asks to be positioned between the columns that support the site of the Philistine celebration. In a final act of courage and revenge, he, with his powerful hands, pushes the columns, bringing down the temple on himself and the Philistines. Samson, the strongest man in history, meets his end in a grand act of sacrifice and revenge. But his story doesn't end here. Even after his tragic death, Samson's legacy persists, and his sacrifice continues to echo through the ages. After the shocking collapse of the Philistine temple, Samson's brothers and his father's entire family gather to look for his body. In an act of respect and honor, they buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the tomb of Manoah, his father. Even in death, Samson continues to lead Israel. His legacy transcends his own life, inspiring future generations to resist and persevere in the face of adversity. The impact of his last heroic act is felt deeply in the history of his people. The Philistines, despite their momentary victory over Samson, are forced to recognize the magnitude of the force they faced. The myth of Samson, the strongest man in history, becomes a legend that resonates among the people of the region. Samson's story, marked by triumphs and tragedies, leaves a lasting legacy of courage and sacrifice. His name is intertwined with the resistance of the people of Israel against adversity, a flame that never goes out. The people of Israel, even after Samson's death, find strength in the narrative of the man who defied lions, armies, and adverse destinies. His story becomes a beacon of hope and perseverance for those facing difficult battles. And so, we say goodbye to the strongest man in history. Samson's last heroic act resonates as a symbol of resistance against the chains of destiny. A story that transcends time, reminding us that even in the greatest adversity, inner strength can shine a light in the darkness. Thank you for joining us on this exciting journey through the true story of Samson. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic content. Until the next adventure.